Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to Wholesale Hotties, the place where ladies in real estate are talking about real estate. I'm your host and MC, Sharon Lee Smith, together with my co-host, Monique Fell. Hey, Monique. Donna's out today, but that's all right. She'll be back next week. We have a special guest today, aside from Spencer. We have Lisa Englehart. Lisa, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. I'm so glad you're here. We are going to talk about one of my favorite topics, and that is building houses.
I love it. My favorite topic too.
That's right. That's right. So tell us a little bit about you for people who don't know who you are, where you're from, how you got started in real estate, all the things, just the background.
Okay, so I'm originally from Henrico part. It's called Verona, so right outside of Richmond, Virginia. And I grew up there, went to school there, and then ended up moving probably about 20 miles away where I've been for the last 30 years now. So I got into real estate when I was probably 30, 32 years old. And I've been in it ever since. I started out with a real estate license, and then I immediately got my broker's license 3 years later. And actually the first two deals I put together were two farms that I took to a developer, and we ended up ultimately creating a 55 and over community of patio homes. So it was 165 homes there. Mm-hmm. So that's really where my love for land development started then. So that's kind of a little bit of what I've done and kind of where I'm at now.
That's awesome. So started as agent, worked our way to broker, and now we're developing houses, but not just any houses, right? You really have a niche going on. What do you do?
Well, I do, but it has to be like the right piece of property for it. So I primarily build 1,400 square feet and under. My focal point has always been little teeny houses. I call them teeny houses because tiny houses, if you say the word tiny house, people tend to associate those with tiny homes on wheels. And mine were tiny homes on, stick built on permanent foundations, brick foundations. So that's why I started calling them teeny homes. So I developed a passion for that primarily because of my real estate career. Actually, got me into that. Part of when the market turned in 2007 and 2008, I was in construction, and I knew the market was tanking. I mean, we could feel it bad. So luckily, I was one of the few in the Richmond area who got involved with foreclosures. So I became an REO listing agent for HUD, the VA, and a lot of the banks and local banks and national banks.
Nice.
So that really carried me through, honestly, because if it wasn't for that, you were pretty much going to die in new construction and nothing was selling.
Oh, yeah.
It was terrible. Yeah. Terrible. So the reason I kind of tie that into the teeny homes is because I worked with a lot of reverse mortgage foreclosures. And with a reverse mortgage foreclosure, what happens is if the person who has the mortgage doesn't pay their taxes or insurance, they fall into default. And if they can't catch that up, they get foreclosed on, and that's governed by HUD. It's one of the saddest things you'll probably ever witness, to see somebody that's been in their home for 50 plus years, lost their spouse in most cases, and they don't have anywhere to go. And I kept telling myself, if I had little houses to put all these people in, I could fill them up. Literally, I could fill them up, because people just did not have anywhere to go. Even with the people that weren't 62 or 55 and over, the people that were foreclosed on, maybe a lot of them that didn't have kids, they didn't have anywhere to go. And I'm one of these people where, I believe that a lot of people fall on hard times. I have failed so many times in my career, flat on my face, but I was able to pick myself up and keep going. But a lot of people aren't able to do that. And so I could have over and over again filled these houses with people that needed a place to live. So that's kind of where a lot of the passion for it comes from, because I got to see firsthand how a lot of the people were treated by the banks. And yes, there was a commitment. They signed a promissory note that they were going to make those payments. And what if for whatever reason they fell on hard times, they couldn't do it. But it was some really sad times back then.
Oh yeah.
It was very touched my heart, actually. So that's kind of where my passion for older people, came into that play too. So that's why I love the little houses. They're very easy to maintain. They're very easy to clean. They're very easy to build, and
Yeah.
they're just the utility bills on them are so affordable that
Yeah.
there's a need for it. And
Absolutely.
unfortunately, regulations, kind of keep you from being able to live somewhere like that full time.
Yeah.
So, but that kind of gives you a scenario of, where I came from, where I've headed. I mostly do land development now. And if I keep the land, I basically create my own lots, because if you don't have lots, you can't build. And
Right.
for these small homes, I have to create my own lots, because I can't afford to buy an expensive piece of property to build a little house on. The numbers just don't work. So
Right.
you need to be able to subdivide to keep those costs down to build little houses.
Right. Which makes sense. And when you're talking about older folks, right? That's dear and dear to my heart as well. Yes, I have that same passion. And you're right, right? The kids move out, the kids move on, and you're left with this 4-bed, 2-bath, big house, but you're aging, and it's harder to maintain. And having a smaller place that's still, independent and your own
Mm-hmm.
is ideal, right? Because you can maintain it. It's you and your hubby, maybe, if he's still with you too, right?
Right.
I mean, us women, we live way past our husbands usually.
Mm-hmm.
Both my grandmas outlived my grandpas by at least 20 years. You
Mine
know,
did too. Mine did too. Yeah.
My grandma was 96 before she passed away. She was 94 before she stopped living on her own. Right. But her house my aunt was there twice a week and I was there once a week so that we could clean it for her because it was,
She couldn't do it. Right. It was too
exactly
big. That's
too big,
exactly
too
right.
much.
Mm-hmm.
So this is, I mean, a brilliant, strategy really. And I think you're right. Very needed, especially as the boomers get into that age, and, so tell us a bit, like, you're talking about taking a big plot of land and dividing it into smaller lots. That's a big process. How long does that generally take?
Well, I don't normally buy big tracts. I know the
Okay.
biggest tract I've ever bought was 13 acres, and that was actually earlier this year. Typically, I look for about 6 acres and under,
Okay.
but
Why?
because depending on the subdivision ordinance where the property is located, you can only subdivide by right. I like to do things by right because I don't like a lot of the red tape. When you get to doing major subdivisions, you have a lot of red tape.
Okay.
And when you think of red tape, think of cha-ching, cha-ching, okay? Because that's what it is. Paved roads, curb and gutter. Most of the time, there's sewer. It's just a lot of different things come into play, and it drives the cost up. So what I try to do is I like to do what's by right. So when you look at that zoning and you see what you can do by right, that's me. I'm all over it. And I'm on like a minor subdivision is what I like to do. Minor, meaning it can be approved administratively. It doesn't have to go in
Okay. So you have to go before the board.
the board of supervisors where it gets public comment. I am not a big fan of where I develop land because people don't like change, especially when you're in small towns. Okay. And I don't do everything in my small town, but I've done stuff here, and people they don't like you. A lot of them won't tell you to your face, but they don't like you because of what you're doing. You're developing the community and they don't want it. And those are the things that you have to deal with But it's okay because, I mean, it doesn't bother me. Honestly, it doesn't bother me because
Well,
typically
you're filling a need that they just maybe don't want to acknowledge.
they don't. They
You
don't.
know?
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. So, it's again, I like to do the smaller lots, the smaller acreage, because like in one area, I can only subdivide into 6 lots.
Mhm.
So I don't want to get a 50-acre piece and only get 6 lots, right?
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Absolutely.
So
Because
Lisa,
if it's not road frontage, okay, if you don't have that road frontage, you're going to be putting in a 40-foot wide road to get to
Yeah.
those houses in the back.
At the back.
Mhm. Yeah.
So Lisa, when you're dividing the land, you mentioned divide by right. Is that something, is it limited by acreage? And why don't all developers, I mean, for somebody who doesn't know land development and what they're doing, why don't all developers do that if it's much more administrative and easier to and less money to do?
I think because they don't have, they look for big tracts. They go after, the big parcels of land because they want to build, a 100 to 200 or more house subdivision. You're most of these big builders, the big national builders that you hear of, they're going after density. So, and when I say that, they are also building, typically 2,000 square feet and up. So their lot costs are going to be a lot more because they're paying a lot more for that land, right? If you're going to put 100 homes in, they're paying a boatload of money for that land, and then they've got to do the subdivision part, and then when you run all of those numbers and divide it by the number of lots, that's why your lot cost is so high. Because the developer has to bring in all of the infrastructure. They have to bring in the roads, the paved roads, the water, the sewer, the cable, the electricity. They have to get the lot prepared to sell it to the builder. And that's why your lot costs are so expensive. Typically your lot costs start at 75 and up, and that's kind of on the low side now. Used to be 75 and up, and now it's more, it's over 100 now. So if you're a builder and you're buying $100,000 lot, you can't build a 900 or 800 square foot house on it. You can't build a 1,500 square foot house on it because you're not going to be able to get that money back out of it because of the size home that you're going to build. Does that make sense? You're building too small of a home. You've got to be in that upper $500,000 price range or up. Or or more,
or your return just doesn't make sense.
It's not there. No.
Yeah.
No.
So is your focus still predominantly on the elderly community for your tiny homes, or have you found it has kind of branched out into other communities and other people that are interested in that type of?
Well, I don't build very many of the teeny homes. They have to be the right lot for me. And what I have to do to make the numbers work is I have to build 2 on 1 lot. And here's why. The septic systems for me are all engineered. A lot of the rural areas in Virginia don't have good soil. Okay, so you fall into the category of it's rural. It doesn't perk for a conventional site, depending on where it's at, especially a lot of the coastal areas, because you are closer to the waterways and the soils tend to not be as good. And so what happens is that, it used to be we could put in an $18,000 to $20,000 engineered septic system. Well, now they're 35, 45, and 50. So now take your lot cost, take your septic system cost, your water connection. My water connections in one area are 12 grand. 12 grand. Yeah. So before I even buy the land, I'm looking at 35,000 for a septic and 12,000 for water connection. Okay. So do the math. I can't get out I can't make a living off of doing that. Okay. And I'm like y'all, I work to make my living, and I make my living developing land, building houses. I can't do them for free. I wish I could for some people that need them, but I just can't. I'm not in that position to do that.
You got to put food on your own table,
put food
too,
on my table.
right?
And like otherwise,
on yourself first, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
So if I do 2 on one lot, it's considered an ADU, accessory dwelling unit.
Right.
Unless the zoning is for 2 family. So if it's for 2 family, then I can build 2,000 square foot houses on it if I wanted to, right? I could build an attached 2 family house. I could build 2 1,000 square foot houses. And then if they allow me to build an ADU, I can also put an ADU on it. So now I've got 3 houses on one lot. That makes sense. Okay, right. That makes sense to go with a $35,000 septic. And it doesn't make sense. You know what I'm trying to say here.
Right. Makes more sense.
It makes it so that you can do it. That's not for everyone. What I have typically done in the past is I use them as short-term rentals. Because I'm in a rural market. Midterm rentals don't really work that good unless you're really close to a hospital. The areas, some of the areas that you and I talked about earlier, would be better, for that. But I'm in a seasonal coastal area, and they do extremely well. I have 2 under construction now. They're a little bit bigger than what I normally build. It's an 816 square foot, 2-bedroom, 1.5 bath, and I have a 400 square foot ADU beside it.
Nice.
And they're almost finished.
So 400, that would fall into the teeny home.
Yes, 800 is not really considered a tiny home, I guess, under the standard. Typically like 500 square feet, around 500 square feet and under would be considered a tiny home if you want to get technical. But the scenario with what I have is it makes it great for, an adult child. It could be, it could be a multitude of reasons. Short-term rental, live in one, rent one. It's almost like having a duplex.
Yeah.
You can do so many different things with it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Even like a family compound, like you're saying. That,
exactly.
The 20-year-old son out in the back in his own little room.
And, it's multi-generational housing.
Or grandma's in the back,
That's exactly right.
And yeah. Exactly.
And so it makes it nice because, you can have your family there, but they're independent. I would love to have a compound of these. I would love to have a subdivision of these. Yeah. But, I struggle here with zoning restrictions. And I like to be an hour away from where we are working. I don't like to travel closer. I'd rather be closer, but an hour would be like my max. I have worked out of town, built houses before, hour and a half away. I just don't like it because I'm very hands-on. I like to be on my job sites. Not every day, but I like to know what's going on. I like to make sure everything's going well, and I like to stay on top of it. And if you don't stay on top of it, that's when bad things, happen. Things can start happening to your houses if you're not paying attention.
Yeah. Sounds like you have experience in that. Do you have any horror stories?
No, not really. Not really. Not with the little houses. I think we're just in a really weird market right now. I think that's everybody's biggest challenge right now. And I got to tell you, in a million years, I never, ever, ever thought that there would ever be any issues selling a 1,400, 1,200 square foot house, little houses. But I'm seeing many of them in the MLS where they're just not moving. And I think part of the reason is, the rent may be a little bit cheaper than what they can buy for because of the down payment and then the interest rates. The interest rates, really aren't where we need them to be, to make sense for people. So I never thought that we would see small houses, sitting on the market. That's a shocker for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you predominantly then, when you develop land, are you diversified where, land comes in, you wholesale some land, you keep some land, do you develop other things besides tiny homes, or you just laser focus on tiny homes?
I'm laser focused on land development. And then if I want to keep the land, which I typically do, so what I mostly do is I buy a block. That's my favorite thing to do. I just buy a block of land from one block to another, of like a city block. Okay. And because then if you subdivide that block, you control your comps. You control that block. And it makes it so much easier too, because you're building, 6 houses in a row. Like right now I'm doing 9 in a row. Did 6 in a row in the city. 5 in one block that I'm finishing up now. So that's what I like to do. I like to try to keep them close, and buying a block of land is kind of where I really focus on. I actually look for that. I'll look for certain types of land so that I can get what I call the block, buy the block. So if I have so many builders and so many people that contact me that know what I'm doing and want to buy lots. I could wholesale them. If I know that's what you do. I have never wholesaled anything. I have kept it. I'm kind of like a land hog. I don't.
Nothing wrong with that.
Well, the thing is I work so hard to create those lots, and they take me anywhere from, I would say, 4 to 9 months to get them. Okay. Yeah. I'm doing one now that's
why the builders want to buy them from you, right? They want to skip that. They want to skip
I don't blame them. I don't blame them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not one bit. And that's why I hoard them. But if I ever needed to sell them, all I have to do is make a couple of phone calls and they're gone. And I mean, I'm ready. I've got the soil work. I've got everything ready. The surveys, all they have to do is close and file for a building permit. And that's what I believe, that if you're going to do land development, you've got to be able to give someone something to buy. You've got to have that package ready for them. You don't want your sale drug out. You don't want them to have to do soil work. Get it done. And that way, if I need to sell them, I can. But I'm like, okay, so if I sell them, I've got this inventory. I've got this inventory coming. I've got this inventory now. I don't want to build on all of them right now, but do I really want to sell them? Because what if land gets harder and harder to buy? No, it's more expensive to buy, right?
Yeah.
So I'm kind of hoarding them. But, part of me keeps in this ear over here says, headspace, Lisa, you really ought to sell a couple of them. You could sell these and sell these. But so what I like to do is I have 4 going now out of a 9. And see, once I get those 3, actually I get the first 3 sold. I have 1 under contract and I have 1 in for sale and more coming. But what I like, this is how it keeps me going and what I like to look at. After the 3rd one sells, I've made all of my development money back.
Right.
Okay. So now 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, which the 9th one is coming. I don't have that one. 8, I've got 8 solid. The 9th one's coming. They're all free and clear.
Yeah.
So I can sell them and be free and clear and pocket the money, or pay the taxes or whatever. Or I can build on them and make the lot money and the profit from the build. So it's kind of a no-brainer because they're in New Kent County, which is the #1 fastest growing county in Virginia. Right. And so why would I do that? They're in a great location. They have, and guess what? They have conventional septic sites.
Nice.
And private wells. So it's ideal for me to keep them. And I said, I could sell them. So if you are, I always say that, you can do this. Anybody can do it. If you find a piece of land, you can develop that piece of land instead of selling it. I don't mean giving it, but instead of selling it to somebody like me, you can develop that land yourself and sell those lots because those builders need them. They need them bad.
Yeah. So when you say soil work, can you define that for the audience? What does that mean?
Okay. I grew up on septic and well, okay, until I started building. In fact, probably about 15 years into building, we never got to work with an area that provided public utilities, sewer and public water, or the other. So the first time I developed a 6-lot subdivision in the city, when we did that, they were all public. It was very different for me. I had to learn how to do all that. I didn't have to have some of the soil work that I'm getting ready to talk about. I didn't have to have that done in the city for a septic system. I had to have it done for other reasons, but not for a septic system. So with a septic system for land, that land has to perk. It has to perk. And if it doesn't perk, then, it just doesn't work. You have to have the right amount of soil to create a septic system. It's a lot of different things come into play. So that's when I talk about soil work. If you don't have, if you have the soil, if you're doing the soil work and it's not, it doesn't perk, then you're sitting there on bad soil. And what if you already have that property under contract? Okay. Right. And you can't get a septic system on it. So a lot of different things come into play there. So if you're selling the land and you want to sell that to other people, you really need to hire a soil engineer to come in and do his own soil testing to make sure that that lot will hold a septic system. It perks for a septic system. Mm-hmm. So, that falls into play, whether it's conventional, it's a whole different ball game if it's engineered. So it just depends on the type of septic system that lot will hold. If it's engineered, it means the water doesn't drain well. If it doesn't perk at all, it has too much water on it. It's spongy. Yeah. It holds water. So gravity flow septic system is not going to make it to that distribution box. Therefore, you're going to run into a lot of issues. Does that make sense without getting into too much graphic, trying to keep it, start getting into septic systems.
Well, you don't want to talk about poop on this?
I know, right? So it's a lot of different things that come into play there,
Yeah,
so
especially when you're talking about like spongy soil, right? We're in the Chesapeake Bay Preservation area where, you have to make sure that you're not affecting wetlands and not affecting the bay and all that stuff. And I'm sure in other areas of the country, maybe Louisiana, maybe, you know what I mean? Florida, in the Everglades, all these other places, they come across, I'm sure, similar type of land where they have to deal with property that's just sopping wet. However you will.
We're in that Chesapeake Bay Act, like you were just saying.
Yeah.
So we have to be 100 feet from streams, waterways. Yeah. We have so many rules and regulations and things that hold you back here. Like in Florida, I don't know about Louisiana, but in Florida, you can practically build on top of the water. We can't do that. We can't do any of that.
Yeah.
I wish we could, but we just can't. So, but yeah, I mean, it affects everybody. And then really down in Alabama, I've got friends in Alabama, and they're just putting in septic systems left and right on their own. We can't do that. No. They have to be engineered, stamped, and approved by the Virginia Health Department.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you're dividing land, are you running into, is it pretty cut and dry when you go to the city and do you run into some of the people there that are just like a little more harder to work with, or this piece of land is harder to work with? Is there something, a sweet spot, I guess, and something that you have found, like a system that works more effectively than just, when you go in and try to divide a land and try to do the zoning?
Depends on where you go. Okay, so City of Richmond, I would say, has gotten a lot easier. I really enjoyed working with the I would say the building official and the inspectors I enjoyed working with. The paperwork, everything's online. They were more difficult to work with until you started building, and then everything was fine. So that was a little bit more stringent because you're dealing with city. You don't have that personal connection with them. Okay. Mm-hmm. So when you go to a county, an affluent county, it's still a little bit difficult because even though the inspectors are great to work with, you really don't have that relationship. You have that relationship with your local area that you work in and rural. And so everybody in my town who works in the office knows who I am. They know what I do. They know what my husband does. Because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be where I am today. So him and I both working together. I primarily am involved in that. I'm the one that works with all the county officials, building inspector. Everybody knows both of us, but I tend to work with the same people if I'm in that town. So they all know me. I can pick up the phone and call them. You don't get that when you go into this city and into these big counties. You don't get that.
Right.
Sometimes, going into a rural county, I scratch my head because I'm like, y'all just don't get it. And I mean this in a very, very nice way. Y'all don't get it. You don't get what I'm trying to do. You don't want what I'm trying to do.
Right.
Everybody, all these municipalities all cry, we need affordable housing. We need affordable housing. I have been hearing that for 15, probably more than that, but at least 15 years, right?
Right.
And the unfortunate thing is they don't do anything about it. The only thing that I have seen them do is they bring in apartments and they call that affordable housing. And that is not the American dream here, right? The American dream is for a young couple or a single mother, single dad to be able to go and buy a house that they can actually afford to buy.
Yeah.
Right, with a yard for their kids to play in and their dog to run around in. Yeah.
It's not here.
Yeah.
And I don't see any end in sight with that.
Yeah.
And I really don't. I've tried to think of everything. And it's not there. And even if, depending on the land that you develop for these small houses, they still fall into a higher category. If you have 2 houses on one lot and you're building them, okay, now you've got 2 kitchens, you've got 2 foundations. Let me back up a little bit. You have 2 brick foundations, you have 2 kitchens, you have 2, you see what I'm saying? 2 full sets of appliances, 2 full roof systems. It's not going to be $150,000 house. It's not going to be that, right? So it's still, I'm working my way through it, but I have not been successful with breaking that barrier yet. But I haven't given up.
Yeah. Yeah. So for someone considering building a tiny home or teeny home, right? Maybe not under 500, but maybe under 1,500, right? Mm-hmm. Smaller home. What should they realistically budget for, right? Let's say we want, a 1,200 square foot, 3-bed, 2-bath, small place. What, I'm a young couple. I bought an acre or 2. I want to build my dream home. What realistically are they looking at, do you think?
It's really hard to say, and I know it sounds like I'm a lawyer's coming at you saying it depends, right?
Well, no,
right? I don't mean to do that. And I'm not a lawyer, but let me just say I don't mean to say that.
I mean, obviously, like finishes, grades, all that is going to come into play. But let's just say,
but let's just
say basic stuff.
But even today, like granite is standard. Okay, granted, that's not. It used to be, the Formica, right?
Right.
And so, really, now granite is standard and it's reasonable.
Yeah.
Lumber. My husband had a lunch with our lumber company 2 weeks ago, and we follow the lumber prices and the material prices, but I don't follow them that closely because I'm too busy ordering stuff and working on the job sites. But he made a comment to my husband, and he said that materials is at an all-time low. We're back at pre-COVID lumber prices, yes.
No.
Now, there are other things that aren't, okay, but lumber is. Right. But so it still depends. Now, you've got brick. It used to be where I would put in a 1,200 square foot foundation for like $12,000, okay? $1,200 for around $12,000. Do you know what that is now? The footing, I'm talking about the footing and the brick foundation. Okay.
Right.
Now we're at 20,000.
Okay.
Just for foundation and footing. Right around 20. Okay. So, give or take 23, 24, 18. So, it depends. So, you have to hire, if you own the lot, you've got to hire a Class A general contractor to build that for you. But I will say, in the state of Virginia, and your state, depends on what state you're in, if I have a piece of land and I'm not a builder, which we are Class A contractors, but if I'm not, okay, and I want to build my own house, I want to sub it all out, I can do that as long as I'm going to live in it. And you can save a lot of money on that GC fee. So if I was going to build my own house and live in it, that's what I would do. I would sub it all out and I'd save that money. But you have to know what you're doing to do that. You know, that takes a lot. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
But for the young couple going out, I mean, you know, by the time you hire a GC, you know, you're still going to be at $200,000 just for the house.
Yep.
You know, then you've got your septic, your utilities you've got to hook up to, your land cost. I just don't see it under that. You know, give or take some. It's just it's there. You know, the siding, the roofing. You know, the insulation has gone up unbelievably. That some of the materials are like really ridiculous. Honestly, they're ridiculous. Sometimes I scratch my head, going, "What are we doing?"
Yeah.
You know, what are we doing here? Maybe I should switch over to a manufactured home or something. You know, I have even, you know, contemplated that.
Right.
So
we'll talk to Pam.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry.
You predominantly focus on rural, where there's the sewer has to be. You don't go into areas where it's beats up into the city water?
I wish I could. They're a lot harder to find. The 6 that I did in the city, you know, I don't know how often I would be able to find that, you know, to be able to develop a piece of that size in the city again. I do try to find lots, basically land, not lots. I mean, lots too, but I try to find something that can even be a tear down that does have public utilities. I would prefer to have public utilities. I would prefer to build in an area that has a high traffic count and that has, you know, is more populated. But it's harder to find those, just harder to find, you know, those types of deals, especially for what I'm doing. Like I said, you know, if you're going to build a 1,800 square foot house and you've got public utilities, your cost, you know, those houses are selling $400,000 and up, and depending on the area.
And down, yeah.
But I will tell you this, and I'll just do a little comparison for you. In the city, when we built those 6 lots, we built 1,100 to 1,200 square foot houses on all of them. And here's where it gets you. You have to pay a $7,400 water and sewer connection. Okay, that's the tap fee to the city. Then you have to pay the plumber to connect that from the meter to the house. That's another $3,000, probably more than that. My brother's a plumber, so my brother was doing it for us. So you're around $3,000 to $4,000. Okay, all right. So here's the killer. Here's the part that just got me. You have to pay a sewer contractor to run that lateral, because unless you tore down that house and that lateral is already there, I had to run laterals to all of the houses. $13,000 to run that lateral. So by the time I paid the $7,400, the $13,000 and the $3,000, it was almost equivalent to an alternative engineered septic system in a rural area. It's not a whole lot of difference there. And personally, I think that the rural areas, I think when people start to have children, a lot of people want to tend to go to the counties. And even in the counties where we are, and Sharon will know where I'm talking about, Henrico, Chesterfield, the lot costs are so much higher. So what happens then? You're building a 2,000 square foot house because of the lot cost.
Yeah.
So do you ever so you talk about the place that you're located in, your development, do you ever have the means or the ability or the knowledge to consult with somebody who, oh man, I want to do land, but I don't live there. I live in, I don't know, say Washington State or Oregon or Minnesota or someplace else. And do you consult with people and have that ability to say, hey, these are some things you can look at, here's some things you can do, and guide them through that process of building in their city, their state type of thing?
It's funny you ask that because I have a friend who's a broker, Kevin Randisi, I'll say his name. He has been after me for probably 2 to 3 years to do consulting with land development and the teeny homes. And I just keep, oh, Kevin, I don't have time. Oh, Kevin. He said, Lisa, you have no idea how much it's needed. And people would hire you by the hour to help them. And I really could. I do know it's second nature. I'm not saying I know all of it by all means, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I do have a lot of experience with it. And I am considering it because he has really been pushing me to do that. And I could do it a couple days a week and just fill in different slots because I really do think it would help people get to where they want to be a lot faster than it did me. You know, I'm self-taught. I made a lot of mistakes. I attend a lot of meetings. Probably when people are watching Netflix at night, I'm reading a boring zoning ordinance, right? Or I'm reading a future plan because I'm trying to figure out what they want in this area. So I'm a little geeky and boring at the same time. Oh, there's my sweet friend Jennifer.
Hey, Lisa.
Hey.
Jennifer's been on the show.
Word.
And she's been backstage chatting. I'm like, "Do you want to join us?" And she's like, "Yeah."
I've been hanging on your every word, Lisa.
I've been missing her. I love her. I love you. I love you.
Love
So
you,
sweet.
Lisa. I've missed you.
I know. I miss you too.
It's been too long.
I know.
Jennifer,
So
you just need to come out to Virginia and hang out with us. Come on now.
I know. I need to come out there and see what kind of land Lisa wants so I can wholesale it to her for minimal profit just to learn.
Yeah, good point.
hey, you got it, honey. I'll help y'all any way you want. Seriously.
Because
It is.
I need to know everything you're teaching us, Lisa. I need to know because if I'm going to be negotiating with landowners to do land wholesaling, if I'm not going in deep enough, if I don't know the numbers for the people who are doing what you're doing, then I'm wasting my time and theirs, and I don't want to be ignorant. And so thank you for this opportunity to learn from you so that I can price the land that I am trying to purchase accordingly. This is gold.
Yes, and that you make a very, very good point about that because if you go and get a piece of property under contract and let's just say in the background you have it under contract, right? And it's always negotiable later, but you want to go in with the right price or somewhere close to it, right? So you have to be able to know what you can do with that. What can you do with that? How many lots can you get out of that? See, I know how many lots I can get out of it before I even put it under contract.
That's great.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to overpay for it, right? When I put it under contract, that's what I'm going to pay for it. I've paid over because I actually bought one off the MLS earlier this year and they had it listed for 80 and somebody was in competition with me and I paid 100 because I still made a lot of money off of that at 100.
Great.
Yeah. That just goes to show you, I was going to be very upset if I didn't get it at that price. Yeah. Right. But as long as you know what you can get it for, I'll have to tell y'all that I have to show y'all that deal. It'll make more sense if I can break that deal down for you. And then you can really dissect it from there on how I did that. Yeah. And how I got free and clear lots out of that.
Wow.
So yes, it is. It's a. Everybody should be doing it, y'all. The land is golden.
It is.
Maybe we should stop broadcasting.
Yes, stop. Often we'll have a private chat. I'm serious. People don't. Michael Robertson. I'm sorry if I'm saying his name wrong. I know who he is. He promotes it all the time. And a lot of people don't catch on it.
I'm taking his class. He's now my BFF. And so I'm taking his class for that reason, Lisa, because I feel like it's going to be more AI proof than other businesses in the future. Like you, I'm not a land hog, but I would like to become one. But first, I want to wholesale so that I can learn. And I do own some land in California so that I could go there and fish if I need to. You know, it's right off a big, huge salmon stream. So I do own some land, but I'm not a land hog. and you're the person that that I want to learn from. So thank you so much for this opportunity today. And yes, Michael is pure gold, and anyone who's not paying attention to him, that's their loss for sure.
I totally agree with you on that. I can see it because I've been buying land for many years, and it goes up in value. The value is what's unbelievable. Real estate in general, real estate in general is just phenomenal, the appreciation. And it's the same for land. And if you know ahead of time, if you study those boring planning commission notes, you don't have to go to the meetings. If you miss a meeting because you don't want to drive to it, go online and look it up, skim through it. You're going to know what's coming. I bought land in a rural area because I knew that public water was coming and sewer was going to come after that, right? I got that land dirt cheap 4 or 5 years ago, actually maybe 6 years ago. And then water came through. So what do you think's happened to that land? It's 5 lots and 4 acres. What do you think's happened to that land? And 5 lots is on the main road going on a peninsula. So I can do, I can sell it. I can sell it at any time. Builders are hungry. They don't know how to go and find lots. My husband, he wouldn't know how to do any of that. He knows how to build houses, right? That's all he wants to do. He don't want to do what I do. So but what I was telling Sharon earlier, Jennifer, is you can do it. You can go, you might wholesale now, but then it's going to click off in your head, especially if you dial into one area. See, to me, it's important to dial into one area. I'm just going to tell you that from experience. When you dial in, when you find that sweet spot, whether it's 3 or 4 counties, you find that sweet spot, you're going to get to know the zoning. So as soon as I pull that tax record or look at that GIS map and it shows me what that zoning is, I know exactly what I can do with it by right. Now, I do refer to the zoning ordinance all the time because something triggers me like, what if I wanted to do storage? That's kind of out of my bailiwick. But what if, right? What if I wanted to do a storage facility and it's zoned for that? So that's why if when you go to buy that piece of land or get that piece of land under contract, if you automatically know with that zoning before you get it under contract that I can subdivide that into 6 lots as long as each lot perks. And I know what I can get for that each one of those lots. You take 35,000 and multiply it times 6. And what is that? I don't even 35 times 6. 210,000. Okay?
Yeah.
That's what you could sell that property for. You can work those numbers backwards and figure out what you can pay for it. Now, a lot of people, I don't do a lot of talking about how I buy my land, because when I would have been involved in real estate when I was young, out of high school, if I had known that you didn't have to have your own money, right? I'm very passionate about that because I was stuck. I worked a 9-to-5 job. I was stuck, but I loved real estate, but I couldn't get into it because I didn't have my own money. If I'd met Jim Ingersoll back years ago and knew that, oh my gosh, where I would be today. Jennifer, what you're doing with your children is phenomenal. They're going to be multi-gazillionaires by the time they're 35 years old because they're going to know what mama taught them. But just having that knowledge that you can subdivide that land. So you borrow that money. This is what I was telling you earlier that I don't tell people. I borrow money to buy land. Can I pay for it? Of course I can. And I've had before. But I'm borrowing that money and I'm borrowing my engineering development money. I have a private lender I met at Jim's who approached me. Going to speaking engagements and being in the know and people knowing what you're doing. I'm not on social media like I should be. I've really got to change that. But I have met so many phenomenal people who believe in what I do, and they believe in me enough and they trust me enough. They loan me money on dirt.
Yeah.
And listen to this. On one of the properties that I'm building on now, it's that 8-lot going into 9-lot subdivision.
Yeah.
I have a development loan on it. And they put up the money for the construction loan into second. This is how phenomenal this guy is. And he's right in our network. Okay.
Wow.
So he and his his family members have my underlying, which is the development loan. And
Right.
what I'm doing on the first 3 houses that I sell, I'm paying back $50,000 on each one towards principal on the underlying, and he's doing a partial release. Who would do that? Do you think a bank's going to do that for me?
No.
No. I don't have my money tied up in it, but I have all my knowledge and I go to the job sites. I make sure that these things are on schedule. My husband does too, but I really stay on top of these things because they have to get to closing. The longer we have delays, new construction, you still have delays, weather, subcontractor, it's all there. You still have the same problems, but you get to the point where you have it dialed in, and we're at the dial-in stage right now. I feel like we have a few clunky things that hold us up, but we're at that dial-in stage. But you'll get to the point, if you're going to wholesale land, you're going to get to the point where the light bulb's going to go off, and you're going to go, wait a minute. I know from my friend Lisa that I can go out here to my financial friend and borrow this money, and then I'm going to turn around and subdivide it, and then I'm going to sell those lots. Now, you've got to figure out how you're going to pay that underlying off if they're not handling the construction money, okay? Because not every lender is going to want to go into second position unless they know that underlying lender. I hope I didn't lose you when I said that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay?
No, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Not everybody is going to go into a second position unless there might be best friends with that person in first.
For sure.
So
Which
that is
the beautiful
crucial
thing about our network, right? Between all the private lenders that we know, and if Wendy, let's just use an example, right? Wendy Sweet knows Mary Hart, obviously, because they're hand in hand in everything, right? And so if Wendy's doing your land loan, Mary will take second on your construction. I don't know if they will. I'm just saying, right? Because they know each other, they like each other, they trust each other, and that's the power of networking.
That's the power of networking.
The power of being in these groups.
So where you run into a little bit of a snag is if you get to that needing that construction loan. If you're going to build, and I highly recommend that too, if you're going to build, then you have to figure out that exit strategy. Is that person going to put up the money for you to build on? Because it would be kind of tough to go to somebody and say, hey, will you do my construction loan, but you're going to be in second. They're going to be like, oh, no, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so, that's a little bit tricky. But just think about that. Think about once those first 3 are under construction, that kind of like pays that underlying off.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That underline's paying off, y'all. And guess what? My underline's gone, and I own all of those lots now, free and clear. I own them.
Yeah.
There's so many different things you can do with land. So many different things you can do. And that's why I love rural. I
had no idea, Lisa. I figured it was just a one and done, just wholesale it, and it's not going to make money for you otherwise, so just move it.
Girl, no. Hold it, divide it, then sell it. It's kind of like these wholesalers that are coming out now. Like we interviewed Lydia and Natalie, who have the 100% financing of the wholesales, right? And so that way, close and list is their thing, right? And why not? Right? Because why are we wholesaling in one transaction when we can close on it and list it and get even more?
Right.
It
just depends on your exit strategy.
Exactly.
That works well for the
with
people
land
that want to do that. But there's so many different things you can do with land. There's so many.
Exactly. And so why not close on it, and the sky's the limit. Now you've opened yourself up to so many more things that you can do.
Yes.
Yeah. 100%. I love it.
I talked to Jeff Jahusky about lending on land, and he said that he would, ladies. So talk to Jeff Jahusky if you need another lender for your land deals.
That's good.
I love Jeff. He's a fellow autistic guy like me.
He's one of a kind.
But let me just say this to y'all, and I go to those events too, and I love them. And I come back, and one of my private lenders might not have gone, so I share and collaborate with him on what I learned when I was there. I shared some of the stuff with him. He's actually going, I think, to the Dallas event, but I shared when I was in Florida with him on some of the documents that he needed to help get some of his stuff through, because he's learning to other people now. But so you don't know who you're going to meet when you go to these, or who,
Absolutely.
you know, I know this guy for 3 years now, but I didn't know him in the beginning. You know, he came to me. He came to me and it opened things up for me and a couple other lenders that I have. And now we like do deals all the time. He'll call me and say, hey, you need any money? And so he's
right. Put my money to work, Lisa.
it's very, I really feel really, you know, I don't know if I should use the word blessed, but I really feel honored to be able to work with some of the people that I'm working with, and to build the relationships that I've built with people like you.
Yeah.
You know, Jennifer, you know, we go back several years now. You know, it's just unbelievable how you become, you know, bonded with people.
Yeah. Well, it starts to feel like family to me.
Yes.
Our work network feels more like family to me than actual family. I don't know how healthy that is, but I feel like I just have so much more in common with you guys than I do my family of origin. So I have been so blessed by meeting so many wonderful, wonderful people that have opened up my life and have impacted future generations in ways that I could have never even imagined in my wildest dreams, including you guys. So thank you.
Well, you have a leg up because you are so savvy with making connections with people. So you, if you, you know, could hone in on certain areas, once you get that part figured out where you want to work or work those deals, you know, the sky's the limit. I think the sky's the limit.
Thank you, Lisa, because I didn't know if I was supposed to just wholesale nationally or if it would be more AI proof to just do it locally and still sit belly to belly and shake hands. And Sharon, I'd love your perspective on that as well. Do you think the future of doing national transactions is focusing locally, or do you think AI is just going to make it so people aren't going to know who the heck they're talking to, if it's a robot or a scam or whatever, and people are going to go back to really wanting to do deals in person?
Well, I'll tell you this. I refuse to wholesale nationwide because of that exact thing. And like I've been wholesaling for 4 years now. And I have only ever laser focused Virginia, Maryland, DC. That's it. Why? Because I can drive to the property. I can walk in the, I've been in construction cost estimating and contract and project management since 1996. So I can walk on a job site and I can know my construction costs. So that's so powerful as a wholesaler, because I go and get pictures of the house that I have under contract. And along with that, I can say, hey, you're going to need to do this, and this. And this is what it's going to actually cost you, right? So there's so many wholesalers out there that don't have a clue what construction costs are. And so it's a joke out there, where, you get this house and realistically this is this full gut and it's a 1,500 square foot house. It's going to easily cost 80 grand in rehab. And these wholesalers like, oh, 15,000 rehab. Are you smoking crack? Where'd you get that number from? Like, it blows my mind, right? But that's how I've gotten such a great reputation in the wholesale space locally here, because my deal sheet includes all of that, right? And the power of the knowledge to be able to get it to your customer. And in my opinion, your customer is the buyer, the end buyer, right? And so if I am catering to my end buyer by providing them competency and, quality product, as far as, my product is my property that I'm selling to them, or the contract that I'm selling to them, I'm doing them a service, which is really what we're in sales. This is sales 101, right? And so I'm providing a package, like Lisa was saying about packaging up the land into things to sell. As a wholesaler, you're doing the same thing. You're packaging up that contract with all the information that a buyer is ever going to need to make a decision, and they can make it. Like, I sell contracts within an hour. Why? Because my email that goes out has everything they need to make that decision right off the bat.
There you go. Make a decision.
A wholesaler that competent is rare as hen's teeth. I don't know if I get your emails, but I would sure love to see them just to see what a competent wholesaler really looks like. Because here in the Dallas market, because you have so many people, they don't have to sell good prices. There's always someone new who's willing to overpay, and that's who they sell to. And whenever I try to give them real comps, they're like, "Oh, Jen, you just don't know what you're doing." I said, "I've been doing this since you were wearing dinosaur pajamas, honey. I know that you're, you know." And what they're really saying is, "Hey, Jen's calling us out on how horrible these prices are." You know what I mean? And so it's amazing that you do it right, Sharon. It really is.
Yeah, I just got blocked on Facebook by some girl, and she was, telling me about how brilliant she is. And I look on her profile, and her date of birth was 1990. Girl, I've been in this business since 96. You are 6 years old, child. Don't tell me I don't know what I'm doing, but okay. You do you, girlfriend. I got blocked. Oh, well, whatever.
But Jennifer, going back to what you were saying, I'm like Sharon. I want to put my hands on it. I want to be able to get to it. And if you, in my opinion, if you started out with one county that one or two, like I'm in like 3 different counties right now.
Okay.
If you hone in on the area, an up and coming area, a rural area, it just depends on, what's happening in those areas. We talked earlier about an area, Sharon and I did. We talked about an area that is up and coming, that we believe is up and coming. And that's something that we like. And we've both noticed it. So if you focus on something like that and learn the zoning, I'm not saying memorize it, but just kind of familiarize yourself with the zoning, even because don't you live rural? Don't you live in a rural area?
I do. We're having multi-billion-dollar investments now in my county with Texas Instruments and other places. So you're seeing a ton of apartments pop up. You talk about not a lot of affordable housing, and you're right. We have 5 apartment complexes now within a 12-mile radius in a county that historically only has 100,000 people. Yeah. Which is pretty wild, right? Yeah. So I agree with you. If they need affordable housing, why don't they bring in more tiny home parks, et cetera? Which, by the way, if you need someone to help you railroad through regulations with small towns, which I'm sure you're really excellent at by now, there's this guy named Justin McWilliamson who does that for a living. And so he's someone that I refer my clients to. I don't have a kickback or a referral fee or anything like that. I just believe in what he does because I've seen him, go against these small towns that are against these types of developments. And I see him win over and over and over again. I don't know how he does it, but he's going to have our family out to his latest one that he's built as guests in Central Texas because he's really proud of it. He's made it more of kind of a resort thing versus affordable housing, but he does have affordable housing too. So if you ever want another ally that kind of has your back on that, Lisa, I'd be happy to send you his information. He's in Europe right now. I just left yesterday. But yeah, so we see a lot of resistance to that kind of affordable housing here too. So that's one county. And then there's one county going east that is not off of Highway 75. And so that has a little less competition, maybe a little bit more room for a mom and pop operator, right? Because here right now, it's the big boys are playing ball, which I'm not saying I couldn't get there if I wanted to. I just, maybe I should cut my teeth one county over. I leave it to your good judgment on that. If you feel like, Jen, you know what, go against the big boys, you can do it, then I'll do that. But if you think I should go one county over where it's maybe not so busy and not so much competition, then I'm going to take your advice.
That's what I prefer.
Yeah, I don't
smaller.
necessarily think it's about competition per se, as the big boys are building the big things, and the next step for people, right? They're going to move into an apartment first, but then they're going out into their first home, right? And they want to do that in the next closest rural area, typically, right? So why not capture that before it happens? It happens, right?
Yeah,
so you're buying the cheap land today and you're holding it for maybe, 2-3 years. In that time, you are dividing it, you are making it into lots, you're planning out possible build, maybe even starting build, whatever. In that 3 years now, the current builds of those big apartment complexes is done, like things are happening. Right. And so now the county where you're thinking about, that's the next place people are going.
Thank you for that perspective.
Yeah. Like think about progression of cities, right?
Yes. They have to go somewhere, and it's getting fuller and fuller and fuller here in Texas.
And see, where you are with 100,000 people, that's a lot. You're going to laugh when I tell you this. I'm building an area that has 12,000 population.
Per county?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So think about those smaller areas that need housing. Even if, we have some areas that the schools aren't the greatest, an hour from me where I used to live in a rural county, and people still want to live there. They don't want to live in the big populated counties. Plus you pay a lot more for the land. If you're living in an area that a county that has 100,000 people in it, it's going to be really hard for you to probably find land at a decent price. So
interesting. It's a lot less than the county I lived in before that had a few million people, right? And so for me, that was a big change. And so Dallas is a very populated place. I mean, I'm sure you guys know that, obviously, but I forget the rest of the world's not like that, right? Even though we did all these road trips and I saw that most of the country is much less sparsely populated, you forget that's not how the rest of the world lives.
It's not, because in our areas, there might be 30,000 to 60,000, and that's a lot, isn't it, Sharon? And that's a good population, smaller rural areas to me where they can. I tell you what, Bill Cook, I'll never forget this. I went on that door knocking tour with them when they came over that time. I will never forget him saying that if you're within 20 minutes of Walmart, you're golden.
Oh, yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. Or an hour to a city, you're golden.
Mm-hmm.
An hour to the city, though, in Dallas still has you in a bubble of like 1 million people per county.
But start at the edge of the city. You're right. But like an hour let's say the edge of Richmond, and then an hour outside of that.
Gotcha. Okay.
Where Lisa's at and where I'm at, kind of.
I never would have thought of those smaller counties, Lisa. So thank you, because I'd have to go to Oklahoma for that. But there's nothing that prevents me driving 45 minutes to Oklahoma. So
yeah.
Look into those areas. Yep. And see what's going on in those areas, because you might be surprised. All it takes is one manufacturing plant to come in, and you've got this rural area, or a data center to come in that brings more people to the area, brings jobs.
Yeah.
And then once one development starts, guess what? More coming.
Oh yeah.
And if you can get in on that.
Yeah, all of that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
But you just the zoning is the key. I can't stress that enough on knowing what you can do with the property. That's really, once you get that down or familiarize yourself with it, where you can go to any zoning ordinance and just pick up on it right away, what you can do by right. And if you want to go through the what I call the red tape, it depends on what you want to do. If I want to do something bad enough, I'm going to go through that red tape, but that's not my number one priority. My number one priority is to do what I can do by right, to make it easy.
Right.
I saw today someone was training me on RE Simply, and I saw that you can check out the zoning on land straight from RE Simply. And I thought, well, that's a cool feature.
I'm going to jot that down. Check that out.
Yeah, because a lot of my clients use RE Simply, and my team is well-versed with it, but I'm not. But I'm having to learn it for land acquisitions and wholesale.
Okay.
Right. And so today the programmer showed me that there's a button, and you can just check out the zoning straight from there. But Lisa, you're so resourceful. You probably don't need stuff like that. You probably know exactly where to go.
I end up
zoning. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I end up going right back to the zoning ordinance. And because it's there, and you can get it in a PDF. You can convert that PDF into a Word document and then search or upload it into AI and do that. I've been using AI. I've been playing with AI a lot, trying to figure out how to break a lot of stuff down so I don't have to do the research that I've had to do.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad to hear that for you, because I know how detailed you are and you spend a lot of time, which is part of why you're so trustworthy, because you don't just guess and gloss over things and hope for the best, right?
No, I'm factual. I need to know what I can do. I don't want to guess. I need to know,
And I think that's how some of our mutual friends got in trouble, financially, because they just glossed over things and made sure everything was okay. I don't even think they did it on purpose. Right. But I don't think that ever happened to you, Lisa, because you always look really carefully at details, and now you have ChatGPT to help you. But just always double check GPT, because I catch mistakes maybe 20% of the time on stuff. Yep. So always do your due diligence, even with ChatGPT.
I agree 100%.
Yep. I agree. Yeah. Most municipalities now do have the zoning ordinances right online. And usually it's like got table of contents where you can just click and go to that section of the ordinance, which
the Muni code.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. That's the word. That's the program or
it's
whatever.
Like a big library that a lot of them store them in. And a lot of your rural counties still have it in a PDF format. But some of them do have what's called the Muni code that'll take you to that Muni code. And you can save it, you can forward it, you can download it into a Word document.
Makes it so much easier.
It does.
Yeah. Yeah.
It does.
Anyway, Lisa, we are way beyond time. Sorry,
I think this is the longest we've gone over. Wow, this is so amazing. I'm so glad you put another hour. You had such great questions.
You could you could go to a 3-day seminar literally and listen to all the things that Lisa knows. Seriously.
Yeah. I can see that.
And this is like my passion. I worked for about 8 years for a custom home builder. And I just love home building and land development stuff. I really kind of want to get back into it. So I think that's probably my next. I got to finish up what I'm doing. I have to finish something in my life.
I see some collaboration going on here.
But when you're passionate about something, it's not a job. I work all the time, but I feel like I work all the time, right? Because I love what I do. And the land development is my favorite, is my all-time favorite, for sure.
I agree. Well, it's a pleasure to have you on. I'd love to have you on again. We can talk about more things then.
Anytime.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night, ladies. Great to see you.
Great to see you.